Book 1, The City of Awakening. Chapter 1, Fire in the Alley. New Arcadia never truly slept. Even in the forgotten edges of the city, where streetlights flickered like dying fireflies, and the scent of rust clung to the wind, life pulsed restlessly beneath the neon glow. Ethan Ward pulled his jacket tighter as he walked through the narrow alley behind Monroe Street. Trash bins rattled in the wind. A siren wailed somewhere downtown, swallowed by distant skyscrapers and the humming lights of Arcane billboards. It wasn't fear that made him frown. It was the date. Awakening Day. Tomorrow, every 17-year-old in New Arcadia would gather at the municipal stadium for the official Arcane evaluation, the ritual that determined which elemental talent they might unlock. For most people, awakening one element was lucky. 2 was nearly impossible. And for those who awakened nothing, life usually slammed its doors shut. Ethan kicked a loose pebble and muttered, "Lucky if I even get a spark." He wasn't being dramatic. Talent favored the wealthy and well-connected. The Coleman kids from uptown, they'd been taking private Arcane tutors since age 6. His own training consisted mainly of watching illegal magic tutorial streams on a cracked phone screen. His father would have cracked a joke right now. "Son, all you need is guts and a little flame." But his father had been gone for 3 years, killed during the Monroe Rift incident, a tragedy the city tried very hard to forget. Ethan reached the back door of their apartment building and pushed inside. The stairwell smelled like old paint and mold. He took the steps 2 at a time, heading for the roof instead of his room. He needed air. He needed a moment to breathe before tomorrow changed everything, or changed nothing at all. When he stepped onto the rooftop, the city unfolded before him, a glittering ocean of light, magic, and promise. Distant skyscrapers hummed with arcane energy, their spires casting faint-colored auras like living beacons. Somewhere downtown, the Arcane Academy's tower glowed blue against the night. Ethan rested his elbows on the railing. Tomorrow, just don't fail me. A sudden metallic clang behind him snapped his head around. A stray dog? Maybe a loose pipe? No. The shadows shifted. A ripple of distorted air peeled itself from the darkness, forming a twisted silhouette, legs too long, arms too thin. Its eyes appeared last, gleaming like twin shards of ice. Ethan's breath froze. A riftling? Here? No one told him a micro-rift had opened in their neighborhood. Riftlings weren't supposed to appear without detection alarms, not this close to the city center. The creature hissed, its jaw splitting unnaturally wide. Its claws scraped concrete as it moved toward him. Ethan's pulse hammered. He had no magic, no weapon, only a half-dead phone and his fists. The riftling lunged. Ethan dove sideways, barely avoiding the swipe that carved a chunk out of the railing. He stumbled, rolled, scrambled to his feet. "No, no, no!" He sprinted across the roof. The creature was faster. It caught him by the back of his jacket and flung him against the brick wall. The world spun. Pain burst across his shoulder. As the riftling closed in, Ethan raised his arms in a helpless, instinctive gesture, and heat erupted from his skin. A flare of red-gold light burst from his hands, roaring outward like a miniature explosion. The riftling shrieked, thrown backward by the sudden blast. Flames licked across the rooftop, swirling in a spiral around Ethan before dissipating as quickly as they had appeared. Ethan stared at his hands, trembling. They were smoking. What was that? Fire. He had produced fire. Tonight, before the official ceremony, before any ritual, he had awakened. The creature staggered upright, its charred form twitching. It lunged again. This time, Ethan didn't flinch. Another pulse of heat gathered inside him, not fear, not anger, but raw instinct. He thrust out his palm. A jet of crimson flame shot forward, engulfing the riftling. Its screech was swallowed by firelight, and within seconds, the creature shattered into drifting black dust. Silence fell. The city kept glowing peacefully, as if nothing had happened. Ethan's knees buckled. He dropped to the ground, breath shaking, heart pounding out of control. "I awakened," he whispered. "I actually awakened." A spark crackled across his fingertips, fire red at first, but then something else, something sharper. A thin bolt of violet electricity danced across his knuckles before fading. Ethan froze. Fire was one thing, lightning was another. No one awakened two elements spontaneously, not without a ritual, not without training, not without help, and certainly not in a rooftop fight to the death. Ethan stared at his hands with disbelief, fear, and a wild, burning hope. Tomorrow's ceremony no longer mattered. His awakening had already begun, and it was something the city of New Arcadia had never seen before. Chapter 2: The Morning of Judgment. Ethan barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flames bursting from his palms, the way they spiraled around him like living ribbons, the heat that never burned him, and the lightning, that thin violet spark that flickered along his skin like a warning he couldn't yet understand. As dawn crept through the blinds of his small bedroom, Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, staring at his hands. They looked normal. No glow, no heat, no hint of the impossible power he'd unleashed the night before. Did I imagine it? He flexed his fingers. Nothing. Maybe adrenaline had made it feel like more than it was. Maybe the riftling had been weak, unstable, easy to destroy. But he hadn't imagined the scorch marks on the rooftop, or the ash footprint where the riftling had disintegrated. No, it was real. He had awakened, early, which meant today's ceremony could reveal something he wasn't ready for the world to see. A knock sounded on his door. "Ethan, you awake?" His little sister's voice. He cleared his throat. "Yeah, Lily, come in." The door cracked open, and Lily padded in with messy hair and oversized socks, clutching a small stuffed dragon. She looked up at him with the wide, serious eyes she'd inherited from their father. "Today's the big day," she said softly. He forced a smile. "Yup. You're gonna do great." She reached out shyly and squeezed his hand. Dad would be proud. Something tightened in Ethan's chest. He pulled his sister into a hug. His father had never awakened, never had the chance. But he'd believed in magic more than most people. He'd believed in heroism, in protecting people, in doing what was right even when it was terrifying. Ethan wished he could tell Lily about the rooftop, about the fire and the lightning, about the creature that had almost killed him. But he had no proof, and the last thing he wanted was to frighten her. So instead, he said, "I'll try." She grinned. "Try really hard." By 9 o'clock, Ethan was standing outside the New Arcadia Municipal Stadium, one of thousands of teenagers in the long line that snaked across the plaza. Booths displayed floating holograms that explained elemental categories, the AMA's certification system, and the potential career paths for awakened individuals. Most kids were buzzing with excitement. Ethan felt like the ground was falling out from under him.
He moved with the line, hands shoved in his pockets, hood drawn up. A group of well-dressed students from uptown passed by, laughing. Their blue and silver jackets marked them from Coleman Preparatory Academy, one of the richest arcane schools in the city. Among them walked a girl with long, pale blonde hair pulled into a sleek ponytail. Ava Coleman. Everyone in the city knew the Coleman name. Oldest magical family lineage in New Arcadia, practically arcane royalty. Ava herself already had 2 awakened elements from private rituals, ice and wind. At 17, she could outduel half the professional cadets in town. Naturally, she didn't even notice Ethan as she walked past. But someone else did. Marcus Hale. 6 feet tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black varsity jacket embroidered with a flaming emblem. His family was wealthy too. Old money, political influence, and a long history with the Arcane military division. Marcus was a near-guaranteed fire user, and he knew it. He spotted Ethan and smirked. Well, well, Ward, didn't think they let Monroe Street rats into the Awakening Hall. Ethan rolled his eyes. Good morning to you too. Marcus stepped closer, arms crossed. Try not to embarrass yourself in there. Some of us are born for magic. Others? His gaze flicked down to Ethan's cheap sneakers. Should stay out of the way. Move along, Hale, Ava's voice cut in, icy as her element. You're blocking the walkway. Marcus instantly straightened. Ava, hey, I wasn't. Save it. She walked past, expression unreadable. Marcus shot Ethan one last glare before hurrying after her. Ethan exhaled slowly. He didn't have the time or energy to deal with Marcus today, not when he had bigger problems, like hiding the fact he'd already awakened 2 elements without meaning to. The line finally reached the registration gate. A stern AMA official scanned Ethan's ID. Ethan Ward, age 17, Public School District 12. She handed him a wristband with a glowing blue chip embedded in it. Proceed to Sector C for evaluation. The stadium interior buzzed with energy, literal and metaphorical. Runes glowed on the floor. Trainers guided students to different sections. Floating drones recorded the event for families watching from home. Ethan's throat tightened. This ritual would detect any elemental signature in his body. If the machine sensed fire, fine. If it sensed lightning, less fine. If it sensed both, people would talk. The AMA would investigate. Attention would fall on him, and attention could be dangerous. He stepped toward the elemental resonator platform, heart pounding. The machine hummed with pale blue arcane circuits. An instructor nodded at him. Step into the circle. Relax your breathing. Don't force anything. Your innate affinity will reveal itself. Ethan stepped forward. The circle lit up around his feet. The air thickened, warm, buzzing. A faint magnetic pull tugged at his chest. Ethan swallowed. Just fire, he told himself. Let it see fire, nothing else. The machine's runes brightened. A spark ignited beneath him, first red, then orange, swirling upward like a forming ember. The examiner nodded approvingly. Fire affinity confirmed. Ethan exhaled in relief. But then, the circle pulsed again. A second glow appeared, thin, sharp, violet. The instructor frowned. That's strange. The violet glow grew brighter. Lightning. No, 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 Ethan whispered. The instructor took a step forward. Hold still. The entire circle flared. Red and violet light spiraled upward in twisting, colliding patterns. Fire and lightning mingling in chaotic arcs. The resonator roared as if overwhelmed. Students nearby gasped. Examiners rushed over. Drones zoomed closer to capture footage. The light swelled, then exploded upward in a pillar of red-violet flame. Ethan staggered out of the circle, coughing. The stadium went silent. The lead examiner stared at him in shock. Dual element spontaneous awakening? Her voice shook. That's impossible. Ethan wished more than anything that he could disappear. But the entire stadium was already staring at him. His life, in a matter of seconds, had changed forever. Chapter 3. The Offer from the AMA. Ethan's ears rang. Not from the resonator's explosion, though that had been loud enough, but from the sudden silence that followed. Thousands of people packed into the stadium, yet he could hear nothing. No whispers, no footsteps, no rustling, just the pounding of his own heartbeat. 2 awakened elements, spontaneously. That hadn't happened in the United States in decades, maybe ever. The lead examiner composed herself and signaled to the others. "Clear the area. We need the boy evaluated manually." Boy. Ethan felt like a specimen, not a person. Arcane drones hovered around him, lenses whirring as they recorded every movement. Students stared from behind the barriers, some in awe, others pale with confusion. Ethan caught Marcus Hale's face in the distance, a mixture of disbelief and fury. Ava Coleman, however, looked different. Analytical, curious, like she was calculating every angle of what she had just witnessed. Ethan didn't have time to dwell on it. 4 AMA officials surrounded him and ushered him toward a restricted section under the stands. "Where are we going?" Ethan asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "For a secondary analysis," one official said curtly. "You triggered an anomalous response in a Class B resonator. That requires formal review." "I didn't trigger anything." "Step inside." They led him into a private chamber lined with arcane monitors. Blue-white glyphs glowed across the walls like hovering snowflakes. A sleek metallic device sat in the room's center, far more advanced than anything used in public ceremonies. A man in a gray suit entered behind Ethan, calm and composed. He carried himself with the easy authority of someone used to giving orders. His hair was silver, his posture perfect, his eyes sharp behind thin-framed glasses. "Mr. Ward," he said, extending a hand, "I'm Dr. Samuel Grayson, Senior Arcane Analyst for the American Magic Association." Ethan hesitated, then shook it. Dr. Grayson smiled faintly. "You gave our instruments quite a shock." "Sorry," Ethan muttered. "I didn't mean to." "I know," Grayson said. "That's what makes it interesting." The officials stood back as Grayson gestured toward the device. "This is a Phase 3 elemental signature scanner. It will detect far more precisely than the stadium's resonator. I need you to place your hands on the panel." Ethan didn't move. Grayson's voice softened. "Ethan, no matter what the scanner shows, you're not in trouble. You're extraordinary, extremely rare." "Rare enough to be in danger?" Ethan asked quietly. Grayson paused, and that was enough of an answer. Still, he nodded toward the scanner. Reluctantly, Ethan stepped forward. He rested his palms on the cool metal surface. Glyphs lit up beneath his fingers, then spread outward in intricate patterns. The machine hummed, a low, resonant vibration that tingled across his skin. "Breathe normally," Grayson said. Ethan did. A red glow formed first. Controlled, strong, stable. "Fire element confirmed," Grayson said, making notes on a tablet. "Medium-high affinity, very promising." Then the glow shifted. Violet flickers pulsed beneath Ethan's skin. The machine's hum deepened, turning into a throbbing thrum that made the lights in the room flicker. The glyphs brightened until they were painful to look at. The officials stepped back. Grayson's eyes widened. The scanner's entire panel erupted into a cascade of violet arcs, tiny lightning bolts dancing across Ethan's hands. "Second element confirmed," Grayson said quietly. "Lightning affinity, moderate raw power, high volatility." The machine pulsed again, and for an instant, just one, Ethan felt something else stir inside him. A third whisper, a shadow behind the fire and lightning. But it vanished before the scanner could detect it. Grayson hadn't noticed. Ethan said nothing. The machine powered down with a heavy sigh of steam. Silence filled the room.
Grayson slowly removed his glasses and wiped them with a cloth, as if stalling for time before saying the thing he knew would change Ethan's life. "Ethan," he said finally, "dual spontaneous awakening is the rarest phenomenon in elemental magic. In the United States, there are 5 such individuals on record. Only 5. None under the age of 20. Ethan swallowed. Okay. Grayson gave a soft laugh. "You don't understand. People will want to recruit you. Schools, corporations, the military, even foreign entities. That sounds bad." "It depends," Grayson said. "If you pick the right path, this is the greatest opportunity you'll ever have." Ethan crossed his arms. "What path is that supposed to be?" Grayson stepped closer and lowered his voice. "The AMA wants to sponsor you. Full scholarship, elite training program, housing stipend, protective status. In exchange, you will enter our cadet track and train under our supervision. You'll learn to control both your elements safely and effectively." He paused. "You'll be one of us." Ethan stared. No more rent struggles, no more cheap public school equipment, a chance to be something more than a footnote in the city's forgotten districts. But there was a catch. There was always a catch. "What's the price?" Ethan asked. Grayson held his gaze. "Obligation. Service. When the AMA calls on you, you answer. When we need you on the front lines, you show up. When the city faces danger, you stand between it and destruction." He paused. "The same way your father did." The words hit Ethan like a punch. "My father?" he whispered. Grayson nodded. "He was part of an AMA response team during the Monroe Rift incident. I read his file. He was brave, selfless, a man of remarkable integrity." Ethan's throat tightened. "You knew him?" "I studied the incident," Grayson said carefully. "Your father's actions saved lives that day. You deserve to know that." Ethan's jaw clenched. He wasn't sure he believed the AMA, not after years of vague reports and redacted documents, not after the way they'd swept the incident under the rug. But he also couldn't ignore what he had seen on the rooftop last night. The fire, the lightning, the creature. He needed training. He needed answers. Grayson extended his hand again. "So, Ethan Ward, will you accept the AMA's offer?" Ethan took a long breath. His life on Monroe Street had been small, predictable, confined. But today, the world had cracked open. He reached out and grasped Dr. Grayson's hand. "I'll do it." Grayson's smile was slow and triumphant. "Welcome to the Arcane Military Academy, Ethan." And just like that, his life was no longer his own. Chapter 4. New Arcane Academy. The AMA didn't waste time. Within 2 hours of signing the papers, Ethan had been escorted out of the stadium through a private exit, away from the crowds, the cameras, the gossip rapidly spreading across social media. The officials moved him with practiced efficiency, guiding him into a black Arcane-powered transport vehicle with tinted windows. Ethan sat in the back seat, staring out at the passing cityscape as the vehicle glided along the elevated mag rails. New Arcane looked different from up here, cleaner, brighter, full of promise.
The gleaming towers, the sky bridges, the arcane neon signs that shimmered like living spells. It felt like a dream he wasn't supposed to be part of. The driver spoke without turning. "First time headed to the academy, kid?" "Yeah," Ethan said. "First time headed anywhere like this." "It'll change your life," the driver replied. "For better or worse." Ethan wasn't sure what to make of that. The academy. The new Arcane Academy wasn't just a school, it was a fortress. 200 acres of walled grounds shimmering with defensive wards. Towers reinforced with arcane glass. A training field large enough to host miniature storms. A research wing that looked like a cross between a laboratory and a cathedral. As the car approached the gate, Ethan could see the school's emblem carved above it. A sword surrounded by twin spirals, one flame-shaped, one lightning-shaped. His breath caught. Was that coincidence? The driver smirked. Symbol of our city's founders, fire and lightning working in harmony. Maybe it's destiny you ended up here. Ethan didn't believe in destiny, but the emblem still made his heart pound. The gate slid open in a ripple of blue light. Inside was another world, one he'd only seen in news broadcasts. Students in tailored uniforms sparred on the training lawn, hurling controlled bursts of elemental force at each other. Professors in long coats walked between buildings surrounded by floating rune tablets. Drones zipped overhead, protecting safety shields when someone overcharged a spell. Ethan stared through the window, mesmerized. He had never belonged anywhere less. The vehicle stopped in front of the main administrative tower. Grayson was waiting, hands in pockets, posture relaxed in a way that told Ethan he was used to being in control here. "Come," Grayson said, "there are people you should meet." The dean. The administrative hall felt like the interior of a government building crossed with a museum. White marble, polished steel, floating holograms detailing the academy's history. Grayson led Ethan to a tall wooden office door. He knocked once. "Dean Harrison, I brought our new student." "Enter." The door glided open. Inside stood Dean Marlowe Harrison, a powerfully built African-American woman in a long arcane coat, her silver hair braided down her back. The air in the room shimmered faintly around her. Pressure, authority, and magic wrapped in a single presence. "Ethan Ward," she said, examining him like she could see through his skin. "Dual element spontaneous? We've been expecting you." Ethan blinked. "Expecting me?" Harrison smiled, sharp, knowing. "I pay attention to anomalies." Grayson cleared his throat. "We'll need to place him on the cadet track, level 1 for now." Harrison nodded. "He'll be assigned housing, uniforms, and a training schedule. Ward, you'll begin classes tomorrow morning." "Tomorrow?" Ethan said. "Already?" "At this academy, your talent is not what defines you," Harrison said. "Your discipline does. Do you understand?" Yes, Dean." "Good." She tapped a rune on her desk. A holographic schedule flickered into existence. Cadet Track. Level 1. Elemental Control. Physical Conditioning. Arcane History. Rift Studies. Combat Application. Ethics and Risk Protocols. Field Training. Restricted. "You will be evaluated weekly," Harrison continued. "If you fall behind, you will be reassigned. If you excel, you may be promoted to the elite cadet track." Ethan nodded, trying not to show how overwhelmed he felt. Grayson stepped forward. "That's enough for today. Ward needs time to process." Harrison gave a brief nod. "You may go." Dormitory assignment. A junior academy officer handed Ethan a slim wrist device, a cadet band. This contains your schedule, ID, access permissions, and training metrics, she explained. Wear it at all times. It syncs with your elemental vitals. Ethan clipped it on. The band hummed as it scanned his pulse, temperature, and arcane signature. A soft red-violet glow appeared. Red for fire, violet for lightning. The officer raised an eyebrow. Rare combination. Yeah, Ethan muttered, so I've heard. She handed him a key card. Dorm Building C, room 312. You'll meet your roommate there. My roommate? She smiled sympathetically. Good luck. That didn't sound promising. Roommate. Dorm C was a tall, utilitarian building with wide hallways and thick, reinforced doors. Ethan found room 312 and tapped his keycard. The door slid open. A blast of loud music hit him first. Then the scent of buttered popcorn. Then a flying pillow that barely missed his face. Yo, sorry. A boy popped his head up from behind the couch. He looked about Ethan's age, pale skin dotted with freckles, brown hair sticking up in every direction. He wore mismatched socks and a hoodie with a smiling chicken logo. I'm Kai Turner, he said cheerfully, lightning user, amateur baker, professional messmaker, and, apparently, your new roommate. Ethan blinked. Lightning user. Kai grinned. Yup, best element, fast, flashy, great for microwaving snacks. He paused. You look confused. You new? Very new. Cool, what element are you? Fire and lightning. Kai froze. Lightning and fire? His jaw dropped. No way. You're the dual awaken kid from the stadium? Dude, you're already a campus legend. Please don't say that, Ethan groaned. Kai laughed. Too late. News spreads faster than light around here. Ethan dropped his bag on the spare bed, suddenly exhausted. Kai flopped onto the couch and tossed him a soda. Don't worry, he said casually. Some people will envy you, some will hate you, but me, I'm just glad to have a roommate who might accidentally explode things. Makes life interesting. Ethan blinked at him. That's comforting? Kai winked. Welcome to the academy, Ethan Ward. And for the first time since the rooftop, Ethan felt a flicker of something other than fear. Possibility. Chapter 5. First Day, First Fire. Morning came too fast. Ethan's alarm vibrated against his wristband at 6 a.m., followed immediately by Kai's muffled groan from the other side of the room. Why, Kai mumbled into his pillow, does every good school start class at an hour meant only for night shift nurses and demons? It's not that early, Ethan said, pulling on his uniform jacket. The fabric was surprisingly comfortable, reinforced with faint runes woven into the seams. Kai sat up like a zombie resurrected. You're awake? Voluntarily? It's my first day, Ethan said. I don't want to screw it up. Kai blinked at him, then shrugged. Good luck maintaining that attitude after week 2. He hopped off his bed and stretched. Little sparks flickered across his fingers, tiny, harmless discharges, like static electricity made visible. Ethan stiffened instinctively. Kai noticed. Relax, man. Lightning users tend to leak a little in the morning. Our brains boot up before our bodies do. Right, Ethan said. Normal. For us, added. Elemental Control I. The first class of the day took place in the Elemental Atrium, an enormous domed chamber with floating platforms, fire-resistant walls, and water channels weaving through the stone floor like veins. Ethan arrived early. He didn't want attention. He got the opposite. As he entered, whispers followed him like shadows. That's him. Dual elemental. Spontaneous, did you hear? No way he's not going elite track. He looks so normal, though. Ethan tried to ignore them, taking a spot near the back. Kai plopped down beside him. "Well," Kai said cheerfully, "you're famous." "Please stop saying that. I physically can't." Before Ethan could respond, the instructor strode in, a woman in her mid-30s with short black hair, an athletic build, and an aura of heat pulsing faintly around her. "Good morning, cadets," she said, her voice crisp. "I am Instructor Valencia Reyes, specialist in elemental control and battlefield application." She surveyed the room with sharp, expectant eyes. "We'll begin with a simple assessment. I want to see your natural output before we start formal technique training." She pointed to a row of targets at the far end of the room. "Line up, fire users first." A dozen students stepped forward, Marcus Hale among them. His eyes locked on Ethan and smirked. Reyes gestured, "Show me your basic output." Marcus stepped up to the firing line, rolled his shoulders, and summoned a blazing arc of orange flame that roared toward the target, smashing into it with enough force to leave a molten crater. Students murmured. "Impressive as always," Reyes said. "Controlled, powerful, stable." Marcus flipped his hair back like he'd won a medal. Reyes called another name, then another. Fire users took turns, each one performing adequately, some better, some worse. None rivaled Marcus, though. Then Reyes looked at her list. Ethan Ward. The room quieted. Ethan swallowed hard. Kai nudged him. "You've got this." He wasn't so sure. He stepped forward. Reyes nodded once. "You awakened fire spontaneously. That suggests high emotional ignition potential. I want to see your neutral state output. No adrenaline, no fear, no rift monsters chasing you, just you and the flame." Ethan inhaled slowly. "Don't think about lightning, just fire, one element only." He lifted his hand. At first, nothing happened. A few snickers rippled from the other fire cadets. Marcus smirked. Ethan clenched his jaw and focused. Heat gathered in his chest, rising like a tide. A small spark flickered in his palm. Then another. Then, whoomp! A spiral of red-gold flame burst from his hand, surging toward the target in a concentrated jet. It hit with a violent explosion that blew the nearest targets off their stands.
Students gasped. Kai whooped. Marcus stared, jaw tight. Ethan lowered his hand, panting slightly. Instructor Reyes said nothing for a moment. Then, "Raw power, exceptional. Control, non-existent." A few students laughed. Reyes shot them a death glare, and they instantly shut up. She turned back to Ethan. "Ward, you have far more fire output than your body can handle safely. We'll need to teach you containment techniques immediately, or you'll burn yourself from the inside out." "Understood. But," Reyes added, voice firm, "your potential is impressive, very." Ethan's cheeks warmed. Then Reyes's eyes narrowed slightly. "Now for lightning." Ethan froze. Kai whispered, "Don't worry, lightning is way easier than fire. Just try not to blow up the ceiling." "That's not helping," Ethan hissed. Reyes pointed at the lightning targets. These ones were reinforced with metal rods and insulated padding. "Ward, step forward." Ethan swallowed and obeyed. He lifted his hand again. Lightning was different. Hot but sharp. Not a tide, a blade. He felt it spark in his veins, itching beneath his skin. Easy, he told himself. Small output, controlled, just enough to register. The spark grew. The air hummed. A faint violet glow formed between his fingers. Students leaned forward. Kai whispered, "You're doing great." Crack! Boom!
A violent bolt of lightning erupted from Ethan's palm, slamming into the target with explosive force. The shockwave rattled the entire atrium. A few students yelped. The lights flickered. When the smoke cleared, the target was gone. Not broken, not scorched. Gone. Ava Coleman, standing with the advanced ice users on the opposite platform, stared with open disbelief. Marcus' jaw clenched so tight his teeth might crack. Kai let out a low whistle. "I'm sleeping with one eye open." Reyes slowly exhaled. "Well, that answers that." She walked over to Ethan, assessing him like an unstable bomb. "Ward," she said, voice calm but stern, "you possess some of the highest raw dual element output I've seen in a first-year cadet." Ethan's stomach dropped. "But your stability is dangerous, reckless, unrefined." Her eyes softened slightly. "It's not your fault. You never had training, but you will need it, a lot of it." Ethan nodded. "Starting today," Reyes said, "you will report for special remedial training every evening until further notice." Marcus smirked. Extra work, extra burden. Kai elbowed him. "Congrats, you're officially a problem child." Reyes raised her voice. "Class dismissed. Ward, stay behind." The students filed out, whispering loudly. Ethan approached the instructor. She looked him dead in the eye. "Ethan, you're powerful, extremely powerful, but power without discipline is a disaster waiting to happen." Ethan swallowed. "I know." She stepped closer. "Do you have any idea what triggered your awakening?" Ethan hesitated. "A rooftop, a riftling, lightning that shouldn't have been possible." "I think so," he said quietly, "but I'm not sure." "Figure it out," Reyes said, "because if you don't understand what sparked your magic, you'll never control it." Her voice lowered. "And uncontrolled power in this academy is the fastest way to get yourself killed." Chapter 6. Sparks in the Shadows. Ethan left the elemental atrium with his head spinning. He had expected to struggle. He had expected to be behind everyone. He hadn't expected to nearly destroy school property on his first day. Kai walked beside him, hands stuffed in his pockets, humming cheerfully like nothing unusual had happened. "Dude," Kai said at last, "you didn't just blow away the targets. You vaporized them. That was like advanced level output." Ethan groaned. "Great, that'll definitely make people hate me less." "Relax," Kai nudged him with his elbow. "Some might hate you, some might admire you, but most, they'll be terrified. And terror is basically respect." "That's not comforting." "No? Huh, works for me." Before Ethan could reply, someone blocked their path. A tall shadow, broad shoulders, fire user arrogance radiating off him like heat. Marcus Hale. "Oh, great," Kai muttered. "King Flame himself." Marcus crossed his arms. "Ward, congratulations. You certainly made an impression." Ethan resisted the urge to keep walking. Marcus stepped closer, voice low enough that only the three of them could hear. "I don't know how you pulled off that little show, but let me give you some advice." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess. Stay out of your way?" "Good guess," Marcus smirked, "but no. It's this. Power doesn't mean you belong here." Ethan stiffened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," Marcus said, "that some of us have trained for this our whole lives. We earned our place. You just stumbled into it." Kai bristled. "Back off, Marcus." "I'm just telling the truth," Marcus said. He stared Ethan down. Dual element or not, you're not in my league. Ethan felt heat rise in his chest. Not fire, anger. My awakening wasn't luck, he said quietly. I survived something I wasn't supposed to. Marcus scoffed. Sure, whatever story you need to tell yourself. He turned and walked away, shoulders stiff. What a jerk. Ethan didn't reply, because something Marcus said stuck in his head. You just stumbled into it. But Ethan knew he hadn't. Something had awakened him. Something violent. Something unnatural. And he needed answers.
Rift Studies. Their next class was Rift Studies, held in a dim amphitheater-like room where transparent holograms of rift creatures floated above each desk. The professor, a thin man with nervous energy and coffee stains on his lab coat, introduced himself as Dr. Edwin Clark. Rifts, he said dramatically, are the greatest threat to our civilization, and yet the greatest source of knowledge. He snapped his fingers. A hologram of a small creature appeared, hunched, long limbs, sharp claws, glowing eyes. Ethan's blood froze. A riftling. The same creature he had fought on the rooftop. His pulse quickened. He leaned forward instinctively. Dr. Clark continued. Riftlings are F-class invaders, small, weak, and usually encountered only near unstable microportals. Ethan's hand shot up. Yes, Mr. Ward? Ethan swallowed. Are micro-rifts common within the city, inside residential zones? Extremely uncommon, Dr. Clark said. Urban rifts are almost always detected by the city's Arcane grid. Security protocols activate instantly when a rift forms. Ethan felt cold prickles on his skin. So, a riftling appearing undetected would be unusual? Unusual? Dr. Clark blinked. It would be alarming. The Arcane grid is one of the most advanced monitoring systems in the world. For a creature to slip through? He shook his head. Nearly impossible. Ethan sat back, heart pounding. Nearly impossible. But it had happened to him. Kai leaned over. You good? You look like you saw a ghost. Ethan whispered. What if a riftling got through without detection? Kai frowned. That can't happen. It can't, Ethan agreed, but I think it did. Kai's eyes widened slightly, but before he could respond, Dr. Clark concluded the lecture. As cadets, you must always report unusual rift activity, even the smallest anomaly. Ethan shifted in his seat. He hadn't reported the rooftop. He hadn't told the AMA. He hadn't told anyone. Because the moment he did, they would want answers he didn't have. And maybe he wasn't sure the AMA really wanted the truth. Evening training. By sunset, Ethan was exhausted, but Instructor Rhea's message on his wristband was unmistakable. Report to the Blaze Arena. Remedial fire control training immediately. Kai walked him halfway there. Try not to burn the place down, Kai said. Or do. Honestly, it'd be entertaining. Ethan cracked a smile. Thanks, I think. The Blaze Arena was empty, except for Instructor Reyes, standing in the center with arms crossed. Good, you're on time. Ethan stepped onto the training platform. The ground was marked with circular runes designed to contain high temperatures. Reyes gestured. Again, summon fire. Ethan inhaled and lifted his hand. A small flame appeared, stable at first, controlled. Hold it, Reyes instructed. Now compress it, shape it, don't let it expand. The flame pulsed, quivered. Ethan focused harder. Sweat beaded on his forehead. The flame exploded outward. Reyes clapped her hands. A barrier of blue energy snapped into place, catching the blast. Again, she said calmly. Ethan gritted his teeth. They worked for an hour, then 2, then 3.
Each time Ethan improved a fraction. Each time he failed again. When he finally collapsed onto the platform, panting, Reyes crouched beside him. "You have more power than experience," she said. "It will take time, but you'll learn." Ethan nodded weakly. "I won't give up." Reyes gave him a rare smile. "Good." She stood and walked toward the exit. As the arena lights dimmed, Ethan remained sitting, catching his breath, until something behind him crackled. He turned. A faint glow appeared on the far wall. Violet, sharp, electric, lightning. But he hadn't summoned it. The glow expanded, forming a jagged crack in the air, like a sliver of broken glass. Ethan's heart stopped. A micro rift. Inside the academy. A clawed hand pushed through, and Ethan realized whatever had come for him on the rooftop wasn't done.
Chapter 7. The Rift That Shouldn't Exist. The air split open with a sound like tearing metal. Ethan froze, eyes wide as the violet crack in reality widened, slowly, unnaturally, like something on the other side was carving its way through inch by inch. No alarms blared, no sirens, no security wards lit up. Nothing. That alone terrified him more than the claw now forcing its way through the rip in space. "This can't be happening," Ethan whispered. The claw scratched against the air, then another slid out beside it, long, jointed, razor sharp. The creature pushed harder. The tear distorted, stretching unnervingly like elastic. Ethan scrambled to his feet. "Instructor Reyes!" he shouted. But the heavy arena doors were already sealed. Reyes had left seconds ago, and the room's sound-dampening wards meant no one outside could hear him. He was alone. Again. The creature pushed its head through, a riftling, but larger than the one on the rooftop, much larger. Its eyes glowed an unnatural electric blue, and its teeth were longer, sharper, dripping with an iridescent fluid that hissed as it hit the floor. Ethan's heartbeat thundered. "I can't handle this, not alone, not in here." But he had no choice. The riftling screeched and lunged out of the rift, landing on all fours with a thud that cracked the reinforced tiles beneath it. Ethan stumbled backward. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay, breathe. Fire first." He raised his hand. Heat crawled up his arm. A spark. A flame. A roar. Whoomph! A burst of fire exploded from his palm, bright and hot, slamming into the riftling's chest. The creature shrieked and recoiled, smoke rising from charred flesh. But it wasn't enough. Not even close. It shook off the damage and charged again, faster than Ethan expected. He threw himself sideways, rolling across the floor as claws slashed where his torso had been a second earlier. He scrambled to his knees. His chest burned. His lungs felt tight. Too close. Too strong. This thing isn't F-class. The riftling turned toward him, crouching, its muscles coiling like springs. Lightning sparked across its limbs. Ethan's blood ran cold. That's new. The creature blurred, moving with a sudden burst of electric speed. Ethan reacted without thinking. Lightning surged from his veins, gathering explosively at his fingertips. Crack! Boom! A bolt shot from his hand, striking the creature square in the skull. The blast launched it backward. It hit the arena wall hard enough to dent the metal plating, but it still lived. Barely. The riftling staggered up, trembling violently. The jagged wound in its skull pulsed with unstable violet energy. The creature screeched, high-pitched, glitching around the edges. The rift behind it began to pulse. Violet arcs cascaded across its surface like it was destabilizing.
Ethan braced, lightning buzzing under his skin, fire burning in his chest. "Come on," he whispered. "Come at me again." But the riftling didn't. It turned, stumbling, toward the rift. It wasn't retreating. It was escaping. Ethan's eyes widened. "No, you don't!" He lunged forward, summoning fire, anything to stop it, anything to learn where it came from. But he was too late. The creature dove into the rift. The tear sealed shut in a single flicker of violet light. Gone. And the arena fell silent. Ethan stood there, chest heaving, electricity still dancing faintly across his arms. No alarms, no guards, no system detection. Nothing. It was like the rift never existed. Ethan swallowed hard. Something was very, very wrong.
Instructor Reyes returns. The arena doors slid open. Reyes stepped through, rubbing her forehead. "Ward, let's review today's." She stopped. Her eyes moved over the scorched floor, the cracked tiles, the dent in the wall, and finally, Ethan, standing alone, still trembling, sparks flickering under his skin. She reached for her arcane comm. What happened in here? Ethan opened his mouth. The words felt heavy. A micro-rift opened. Reyes stared. A rift? Inside the academy? Impossible! "I know," Ethan said, "but it did." Reyes moved closer, examining the scorch patterns on the wall. "You fought something." "A riftling," Ethan said quietly. "Not like the first one. Bigger, faster, and he hesitated. "It had lightning." Reyes turned to him sharply. "Are you sure?" Ethan nodded. Reyes took a long, steady breath. "This stays between us," she said. "What?" Ethan blinked. "Why?" "Because," Reyes said, stepping closer, lowering her voice, "the Arcane Academy is supposed to be the most secure facility in the city. If rifts can open here without triggering the grid, then someone is hiding something. And until we know who or why, you say nothing to anyone." Ethan felt a chill crawl down his spine. "You think this isn't random?" Reyes met his eyes. "I think," she said slowly, "someone or something is testing you." Ethan swallowed. "Why me?" Reyes shook her head. "I don't know." She placed a hand on his shoulder, a rare gesture, a serious one. "But we're going to find out." Chapter 8. Whispers in the Wards. The academy wasn't supposed to feel dangerous. It was the safest place in New Arcadia, protected by layers of wards, defensive glyphs, and the most advanced arcane surveillance network in the country. Yet as Ethan walked back to Dorm C after his late-night training, every shadow seemed sharper, every corridor felt too quiet. And the worst part wasn't the riftling. It was Instructor Reyes's warning. Someone is testing you. Ethan couldn't shake it. The street lamps lining the courtyard flickered with soft blue runes, casting gentle halos across the manicured paths. Cadets hurried between late classes, their uniforms glowing faintly with personalized sigils. Normal. Ordinary. But Ethan felt anything but normal. By the time he reached room 312, his hands were still trembling. He pushed open the door. Kai was sitting cross-legged on his bed, surrounded by snack wrappers, a stack of textbooks, and a glowing blue orb that pulsed like a heartbeat. Kai looked up. "Dude, you look like you just fought a dragon." Ethan froze. Kai squinted. "Wait, did you fight a dragon? Because if you did, you better tell me everything." Ethan shut the door behind him. He leaned against it, letting out a shaky exhale. It wasn't a dragon. Kai's expression shifted. "Ethan? Hey, talk to me." Ethan sank onto his bed,
elbows on his knees, head in his hands. The silence stretched until Kai tossed a bag of chips at his face. Okay, that's not helping, Kai admitted. But seriously, what happened? Ethan looked up. A rift opened in the blaze arena. Kai went dead still. No.
Yes, Ethan said. A riffling came through, bigger than the last one. Kai's voice dropped to a whisper. But there were no alarms. I know. And no grid spike? I know. Kai swallowed hard. Dude, that shouldn't be possible. Ethan looked down at his hands. Lightning came out of it, he said quietly. Real lightning. It moved like it was charged by it. Kai stared, shocked. For an F or E class creature to absorb elemental signature, that's impossible. Reyes saw the aftermath, Ethan said. She believed me. Kai's eyes widened further. Oh, this is bad. Thanks, Ethan muttered. Super helpful. Kai leaned closer, lowering his voice. Ethan, if someone's messing with rifts inside the academy, this isn't just bad. It's illegal. High treason illegal. Ethan blinked. Treason? Kai nodded grimly. Manipulating rifts, suppressing the grid, hiding intrusions, that's AME classified stuff, like government-level secret projects. Ethan felt the air go thin. A secret project? A riffling that shouldn't exist? Both happening after his awakening. Someone's watching me, Ethan whispered. Kai swallowed. Okay, look, you cannot keep this to yourself. Reyes said to keep quiet. Reyes? Kai blinked. Reyes told you not to tell anyone? Ethan nodded. Kai rubbed his forehead. Okay, that means either she's trying to protect you, or she knows something she shouldn't say out loud. Ethan sank back against the wall. His life had gone from barely surviving public school to possible government conspiracy in less than 48 hours. Kai finally spoke again, quieter than before. We need more information. Ethan looked up. Like what? Kai motioned for him to follow. Come on, I know someone.
The Ward Archives. The Academy's Ward Archives were located beneath the main courtyard, an underground labyrinth of ancient glyphs, reinforced spell barriers, and shimmering data terminals. Technically, cadets weren't allowed down here without permission. Kai led the way anyway. Are you sure this is a good idea? Ethan whispered. Kai shrugged. Nope, but it's the only idea I have. They reached a sealed door glowing with intricate symbols. A scanner pulsed overhead. Ethan gestured helplessly. This is a restricted area. Not for me, Kai flashed a grin. He stepped up to the scanner, lifted his sleeve, and revealed a shimmering silver band beneath the skin of his wrist. Ethan's eyes widened. Is that Yup, a technomancer graft, Kai winked. My parents work in arcane science. They gave me a little upgrade. He pressed his hand to the scanner. The symbols flickered. The door unlocked. Ethan shook his head. I'm starting to think you're not nearly as normal as you pretend to be. Kai smirked. Normal's boring. The archives were breathtaking. Rows of glowing rune pillars extended into the distance. Floating screens displayed live rift data across the city. Holographic maps showed the arcane grid's pulse, its heartbeat steady and strong. Kai rushed to a terminal. Okay, let's check the grid logs for the last 2 hours. He swiped his hand through a blowing interface. Data streams cascaded down the screen. Then Kai froze. What is it? Ethan asked. Kai zoomed in on a section. There's no record, he whispered. No record of what? Kai turned to him, face pale. No spike, no anomaly, no disturbance. Your rift never registered. Ethan's skin crawled. Someone scrubbed it, Kai added. Ethan's heart thudded painfully. Who can do that? Kai hesitated. Only high-level AMA officials. Ethan felt like the floor dropped out from beneath him. Someone powerful enough to erase evidence of a rift was interfering with his life. And for the first time, the possibility he had tried not to think about pressed into his mind.
This wasn't random. This was targeted, deliberate. Kai looked at him, voice trembling slightly. Ethan, someone inside the AMA is hiding the truth. The cold realization sank in, and Ethan thought of his father. His unexplained death, the sealed reports, the missing details no one would talk about. What if, Ethan whispered, this has something to do with my dad? Kai swallowed. Before he could answer, a soft click echoed behind them, the sound of a door locking. Then a voice spoke from the shadows. You boys chose a very dangerous place to snoop. Ethan spun. A tall figure stepped out from between the rune pillars, a silhouette he recognized instantly. Dr. Grayson. But his expression, calm, cold, unreadable, told Ethan this wasn't a friendly meeting. Not at all.